All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash.
Divine City Apostles, and that was a great millstone, and peace and salutation, city elect. This is another Saturday class. We're going to be going into the topic of detachment, knowing how and when to do that, and give some examples in the scriptures of men that had to detach themselves from certain situations, certain possessions, certain things, and the reward of that, and then also certain men who basically failed the test of being able to depart from certain things and what happened to them as well. So Lord, when is this edifying? We can start off with that 2 Timothy 2 and 4 about the shop.
Gone. This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 4. And it says, matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 3, brother.
Okay.
It says, thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushai HaMashiach. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life.
Right. It says endure hardness as a good soldier because we've been called into this truth, into this ministry, so we have an objective to complete. So you can't let other things cause you to deviate from that, right? And so when you look at a soldier, what soldiers do is they leave their families, they leave their children, they leave their wives and their houses, and they go out to war. So when you do that, it causes you to have a single focus, basically on the objective of winning the war, right? And being that we're spiritual soldiers, we have to again let go of those other things that people who are not fighting that war spiritually, they have attachment to those things. We have to let go, right? Even though we're not physically on a battlefield physically, we're on a battlefield spiritually, right? So I wanted to get that word entangle real quick. I'm gonna play the Greek word.
Strong's G 1707. Impleko.
Okay, it says impleko. It says to enweave, to involve in, to entwine. So basically, when you get too involved and too entwined in other things, then you lose focus on the main thing. Like we say all the time, keep the main thing, right? Can you finish that verse, Sean?
Absolutely. This is back in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 4. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier.
Yeah, man, the affairs of this life, the different situations and relationships that you develop in the world can basically, cause you to have an affinity towards this place. Like I remember in second Ezra's, the angel told Ezra that your heart has gone too far in this world, right? And basically, sometimes we got to draw it back, you know what I mean, and get into that spiritual mind. I'm gonna see if I can find it. But in the meantime, can somebody get the account in 2 Samuel 15? We don't have to get the whole chapter, but we'll just jump straight to the point in verses 13 and 14.
It's basically the difference between a civilian and a combatant or a soldier.
Oh, the word you looked up.
Well, I was just saying, it's when you're at war, you can't look at it. You may be, scattered or sent. I don't know the word when they enlist you, dispatched into a particular. And when you get there, you're not a civilian.
Right.
You're there on a mission, and that's how we have to look at this walk. In a sense.
Okay. Yeah. You can
Sometimes you can get too attached to where you were dispatched to, and you start to think and act like a civilian when really you're at war. You're there for a particular reason. You were sent there. So
Like I had on, the best example we always use is dead presidents. When Chris Tucker was getting on Lorenz Tate about him not having a picture of his little girl, he's like, I can't worry about that shit. I get back to the world when I get back to the world. The moment I start thinking about that, I'm a dead man. Like I said, you're on a mission. And also when he brought that word entangled, it also makes you think about that parable in Matthew the 13th chapter. When Yahushua lists all the different situations about coming into this truth, and one of it is the cares of this world can start to choke a man out. After you endure for a while, but you start caring about the world, it can choke you out, so it can entangle you because you too focused on not the mission,
Right.
on other things.
Right. You got that.
Second
that
Samuel.
Oh yeah. Before we get to 2 Samuel, if you don't mind.
Hey, 2 Ezra chapter 4, and I'll start at verse 1. It says, "And the angel that was sent unto me, whose name was Uriel, gave me an answer, and said, Thy heart hath gone too far in this world, and thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High?"
Yeah, and in the GNT, there's a title that says the human mind cannot understand the Most High's ways. You see, so when you are thinking carnally minded, you're not going to be able to see the task set at hand, right? So you have to separate yourself, like we say a lot. You got to get out of your own way, take yourself out of the equation, okay? Because there's a common goal that requires a group of people in order to accomplish. You know, that reminds me of 1 Peter chapter 2. I'm gonna get that, but in the meantime, can you get that 2 Samuel, Barbershop?
This is 2 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 13, and it reads, "And there came a messenger to David, saying, The hearts of the men of Israel are after Absalom. And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, Arise, and let us flee."
Let's pause there real quick. Again, we could have read up and started from verse 1 and read the whole situation, but I'll just give a summary. So Absalom was David's son, and Absalom made a conspiracy to have basically people proclaim him to be king over his father, right? So when you read verse 13, read it again, Bible shot.
2 Samuel 15 and 13, "And there came a messenger to David, saying, The hearts of the men of Israel are after Absalom."
So let's stop there. So when you read verse 13, that's the report that David got when he found out, okay, Absalom is conspiring against me. My son is conspiring against me to usurp authority over me to be king, right? Read one more time and then continue verse 14.
2 Samuel 15 and 13, "And there came a messenger to David, saying, The hearts of the men of Israel are after Absalom. And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, Arise and let us flee."
Right. So how did David respond to that report? It said the hearts of all the men of Israel after Absalom. Again, when you're dealing with a group of people, large, hundreds of thousands of people, whoever they deem servitude towards, that's what they're gonna be loyal to, right? So he was losing the support of the people. And what was David's initial response? What was his immediate response? Read verse 14 again.
2 Samuel 15 and 14, "And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, Arise and let us flee."
Right. So you gotta think, like, that's a quick sentence, but he was in, basically a palace, right? He had rulership and dominion and things like that. Okay. He had the city. That was Jerusalem. That was a city of David. That city was taken from the Canaanites during his lifetime for the Ark of the Covenant to go into, right?
Yep.
And so the glory of the Lord was dwelling there, okay? And so this wasn't like a light thing to go back, right? Go back into basically exile, right? Read the whole verse again, Bob Shah.
2 Samuel 15 and 14, "And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, Arise and let us flee, for we shall not else escape from Absalom. Make speed to depart, lest he overtake us suddenly and bring evil upon us."
Right. You see that? Is that the end of the verse?
No.
Go ahead.
It reads, "And bring evil upon us, and smite the city with the edge of the sword."
Right. You see that? So he said, look, let's get out of here quickly. He didn't waste no time, right? But think about that though. Imagine like if on a moment's notice you just found out that your son is conspiring to, become king over you, but you got wives and servants and all this stuff. He didn't think twice about it. He got up out of the city. You know what I mean? And so, knowing how to do that requires faith. Knowing when to really go into that mode, you really have to always be in that mode. You know what I mean? But David, he was a tactical man. David was a man of war. So it wasn't his first time being in the wilderness. It wasn't his first time, running.
He was on a war campaign. Joe out. He was ready.
Yeah. So and
Sun and night.
right.
They didn't play.
Right. So, you know, and you read the previous chapters, you see like the difficulties that David was going through with, you know, family and stuff like that after the Bathsheba situation. But that one, the way that David responded to that kind of stood out to me. Can we get Exodus chapter 2? And of course, the brother got precept, you know, feel free to bring them out. But can we get Exodus chapter 2 and the account where he flees in verse 14?
I got it right here.
Yeah, actually, we can start at verse 11.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 2, verse 11. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together, and said to him that did the wrong, Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killed the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known.
Right, so let's stop there, right? So the situation with Moses, you know, killing the Egyptian, you know, a lot of people know about that situation. And when Moses found out that it was word got out that he killed the Egyptian taskmaster, his response was, okay, though I'm the prince of, you know, Egypt, so to speak, right? I'm gonna get up out of here. You know what I mean? Like that takes also faith. He didn't have, you know what I mean? Like he left the comfort zone that he was in, and he detached from that and went his own way. Could you read the next verse, and then we'll go to the next precept?
Verse 15. Now when Pharaoh heard the thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well.
Yeah, so sometimes we got to know when to pull the trigger on some drastic measures, man. Like, because a lot of people will use the account of Lot, you know, during the time of you know, Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Like, yeah, you know, Lot's wife fled out of the city, but she didn't fully detach because she looked back and got her ass turned into a pillar of salt. Oh, you got something?
Got another one real quick.
Come on.
This is James chapter 4, verse 8. Draw nigh to the Most High, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy into heaviness. And just to elaborate going into that, as you're going into this lesson right now, when you literally cast away the burdens of this life, by default, you're joining unto the Lord, you're getting close to the Lord, building that relationship with him. You know, it's not as easy to do that, okay? Because when you do separate from this world, you put yourself in some uncomfortable circumstances. As you use Moses as an example, David and Absalom and so forth. You know, and lo and behold, as it's from the fleshly perspective, in the state of mourning, weeping and such, that's cleansing your heart and getting you closer unto the Lord. Because what the scriptures say, a contrite heart is acceptable unto the Most High. You know, so when you cast these burdens away that we're used to in the world and getting closer to the Lord, that's when you start dealing with tribulation and suffering and such. But that's solidifying your relationship with Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. You know, that's it on that precept.
All right. Can somebody get Luke chapter 14 and 33? And then what was the other one? We got the second Samuel, Philippians 3. Look at that real quick, Papa Shot. Philippians 3 and verses 7 and 8.
Luke 14 and 33.
Yeah, come.
Right, it says, so likewise.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, that's cool.
Oh, you want to get that other one?
Yeah, I was going to get that first, so I don't mind.
This is Philippians chapter 3 and verse 7. It says, But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Hamashiach.
Right, those things that... Actually, let's start up a little bit. What verse you at, verse 7?
I started at 7, but the point, like the thought starts at like 4.
Okay, let's go up, yeah.
3. Philippians 3 and verse 4. It says, Though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man thinketh that he hath whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more.
Yeah, so going back to Paul's background, Paul was a Pharisee, right? Originally, he was, trained under the law. He was a student of Gamaliel, so he knew the law. He knew that basically he knew the customs of the circumcision, right?
Right.
And so he basically was using the point in the argument of from the circumcision perspective, they thought that the righteousness was from the workings of the law, right? So Paul was like, look, I've been in y'all's shoes before. I already know how it feels to think like that, right? And so he's saying that's the confidence in the flesh, right? Because the flesh is basically the works that you do in your flesh, and that confidence of doing the sacrifices, doing the law, things like that. Talk
First
about
covenant, basically.
Yeah.
There's no justification.
Your righteousness with the Most High under that covenant was predicated upon your adherence to those laws.
Right.
Those, technicalities.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul's basically like, shit, if anybody can boast in that, you know what I'm saying? I can.
Mm-hmm.
But here it is, I done thrown that all away to gain Yahweh Shai.
That's right. You gotta go.
Yep. Philippians 3 and 5, it continues, circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless.
Right, so he's going down the list of his spiritual resume. Like, look, I've been very zealous. I've been on point as I possibly could be before I came into the knowledge of the Yahweh Shai, right? And so, again, like the elder said, you can't predicate your righteousness off the workings of the law, okay? Go ahead.
Verse 7, but what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Mashiach.
Mm-hmm. Right, because you could boast in all those things, okay? But he basically forsook the status of being, if you go back to Acts the 7th chapter, where Paul, was persecuting the church, he took that away and went into vulnerability mode, right? He went into persecution mode, like being persecuted for the word of Yahweh Shai. So he cast that off. He cast off that stigma of being, Paul the zealot, if you will. You know what I mean? So you can read verse 8, and then we'll go to the next one.
Philippians 3 and 8, yeah, doubtless, and I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Mashiach Yahweh Shai, my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things.
Right. Again, Paul, he talked about how he was beaten with stripes. He was stoned. He was shipwrecked multiple times. He basically went into a nomadic type of lifestyle where he was going out and preaching across the known world at that time. So he gave all that stuff up. He didn't have no wife, no children, whereas he hypothetically could have, right? But he gave all that up, right? So that was really a constant mindset that Paul had, of detaching from this world.
Yeah, and to add to that too, as soon as he detached, as soon as he detached, he was directly supped with Yahweh Shai for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very heavy thing. Like soon as he detached, he had that one-on-one personal relationship with the Lord and was directly taught from Yahweh Shai while he was in Damascus.
Man.
Yeah,
that's heavy. So that was really the point in that Philippians. You got that. We might need to start up on this one too. Maybe.
Just for the listeners, I ain't read the whole verse.
Oh, you said what?
I ain't read the whole verse.
No. You got the Luke 14. Mm-hmm. Okay, can you start at verse 31, Bible Shop?
Luke 14 and 31. Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first, and consulted whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000.
Right, and this parable goes into counting the cost, right? You got to prepare yourself for the journey before you actually start the journey. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just get in your car and start driving on the highway and then open up your navigation. You open up your navigation and find the route before you start driving, right? So same thing with building a house. You got to have a blueprint first. Same thing with an army strategy. or war, you have to have a strategy first for your army, right? So this is the correlation that Yahushua is making.
I got something.
Okay, go ahead.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 7, and verse 6 in the GNT. It says, don't set your heart on being a judge unless you have the strength of character it takes to put an end to injustice. Just going into your point about counting the cost, man.
Yep. And so, and when you're a judge too, the scriptures talk about not taking bribes. You know what I mean? You basically have to cut yourself off from all emotions. You know what I mean? Because you have to judge according to the Lord's word.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not really about your personal opinion. Scriptures talk about being deceived by your own, vain opinion. So as a judge too, you also have to just look at the logics, the facts. Look at the things that the evidence that's presented to you, right? You guys.
Yep. Luke 14:32, or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage and desired conditions of peace.
Right. So yeah, it says while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an embassy and desire conditions of peace. So you don't want to be somebody that's preparing to make war when it's unnecessary, and you don't want to be somebody that when it's time to make war, you're underprepared, right? You just want to make sure that you analyze the situation before you get yourself into a commitment that you can't reverse, right?
That's right. We'll read that in the NLT. It says, and if he can't, he will send a delegate. It will send a delegation to discuss terms of peace while the enemy is still far away. So then verse 33 it says, so likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple.
Right, and so that's the point. Like Yahushua is saying, there's a preparation before you start the journey, right? So just like a king has to prepare his army before he goes out to war, if you want to say that you're a disciple of Yahushua, you have to know that you're going to forsake everything that you deem valuable.
Now, bear your cross, yeah.
Right.
Whatever means necessary,
Right. Right. So it says, whosoever of you that forsaketh not all that he hath. I want to get that word forsaketh real quick.
Strong's G 657. Apostaso.
Okay. Apostaso. It says to separate oneself, withdraw oneself from anyone, to take leave of, or to bid farewell to. You see, to renounce.
Abraham, with his family,
Yeah. Yeah.
he had to separate from Torah and that idol worship to follow the Lord,
Right. Right. So it says you got to bid farewell. Like you got to tell that goodbye. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the same word is found in Luke. I'm gonna read it real quick. Luke 9:61. It says, and another also said, Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first bid them farewell, which are at home at my house. And Yahushua said unto him, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of the Most High, which we bring out that scripture all the time. But that previous verse is going into a man basically asking the Lord, look, before I go with you, because Yahushua was right there. The opportunity to follow him was right there. He said, look, let me go tell my family, I love them and hug them and kiss them and all that first. You know what I mean? And set my house in order and then let me go. Okay. And Yahushua said, look, basically, you can't start this work and then go back to your family. So you better figure out which one you want to do. You know what I mean? Because Yahushua, man, he can read spirits.
Exactly. That's it right there.
That's
it right there. You in my head right now through the spirit.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the same thing because you do have the example with Elisha, who actually did go to kiss his father and his mother on the cheek to follow the Lord, serve the Lord through under the tutelage of Elijah.
Yeah.
And that could have been running through that man's mind. going over there doing the same thing Elisha did, but you said it, Yahushua can read those thoughts. Who knows what could have been in that person's spirit? His parents could have been like, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. Well, what about me? And then you end up, oh, I got to take care of my parents. And then, you know, and we've seen it ample times in the truth of guys that are in that spirit.
Right.
You know, so you said it, Yahushua can read those spirits. Best bet, just to serve the Lord. And if the Lord sees fit, your family follows, it'll be that opening right there.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the opportunity that's right there at that moment with Yahushua.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and a lot of the interactions between Yahushua and like certain individuals, they were like specific instructions. Sometimes people can like read Yahushua's replies and think that it just applies to all situations. Like obviously, like, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't necessarily have been going off to say goodbye to your family in this instance, but Yahushua will always say things kind of like in advance before people was even able to, you know what I mean? Basically, because he already knew how people's mind, like certain people's mind was. You know what I mean? This guy may have been, like you said, entangled in his family.
Had that family demon on.
You know what I mean?
You know?
So that's why Yahushua had that response. Other, you know, situations may have required for a different response. So
You're just trying to procrastinate and delay doing what you're supposed to do at that time.
yeah, yep.
There's a sense of urgency that Yahushua was looking for. That's what he
right.
wants, just
That's
pure
right.
devotion.
That's
You know?
right.
Yeah, and so, but I got that out, I brought that out because that same word, farewell, is the same word here for forsake in Luke 14. So if we could go back to that, actually I think that was the point. Yeah, so that was the point on that, Luke 14. And then also, if somebody could get I keep saying Luke, Matthew 19, and we'll start at verse 21.
I got it.
If you, whoever got 3-7, we got first.
So Matthew chapter 19, verse 21. Yahushua said unto him, if thou wilt be perfect, go and sell.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, brother. We got to go up on that one. Let me see. Okay.
I got that one held in mark.
Let's start at
Let's start at 16.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Baruch Hashem.
Matthew 19 and 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good things shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is the Most High, Yahweh. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments.
Right. So let's pause there. So this one young man that came unto Yahushua, it talks about how he was a ruler. You know, he was a rich, you know, young ruler. When you read in Luke, it says he was a ruler. Okay. And so he had many possessions, right? But it says he wanted to know what he could do to find eternal life. He was like, okay, I'm trying to get down with what you preaching, Lord. You know, which is, I mean, who wouldn't say that they want eternal life? Even the Samaritan woman at the well, she was like, shoot, I want some of that water that when you drink, you don't get thirsty again. Like, that sounds good, like, for everybody, right? Sounds like a good deal. But it requires a sacrifice. So Yahushua said, look, if you want to enter into life, you got to keep the commandments, right? So his mind was, oh, well, I should be good then because I keep the commandments, right? Let's see, read more of that about Yahushua.
He saith unto him, which Yahushua said, Thou shalt do no murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yeah. So this is the some of the 10 commandments that Yahushua, that he was telling them, and I'm sure he probably heard it before. So he was probably happy to hear, like, okay, that's all I got to do. I should be good then, right? Go ahead.
The young man saith unto him, All these things have I kept from my youth up. What lack I yet?
Yeah, so he was like, well, I've been doing this already, so I ain't in the kingdom yet. What, like, he was trying to
kind of too. It's still like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, he was just,
what lack yet I yet?
yeah, like what else am I supposed to do? Because obviously that's not the only thing. Because I've been doing that. He's saying, look, I ain't never, he's saying he never killed nobody. He never, he never committed murder. He never committed adultery. He didn't steal. He didn't, lie, bear false witness, right? He honored his father and his mother. So he was like, well, I've been doing that. So what else, right? Go ahead.
Yahushua said unto him, If thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me.
Yep. So Yahushua, going back up a couple verses, he told him what he needs to do in order to enter into the kingdom, but he wanted to enter into the kingdom now. Like, he was trying to basically make it to where he could get in, you know, because at that time, what was one of the things that his disciples even was asking him constantly? The Lord was being asked constantly, are you going to bring the kingdom now? Are you going to bring the kingdom now, Lord? People thought, you know, that the kingdom was coming in their lifetime because Yahushua was there, right? So Yahushua said, look, if you want to be complete, which is what that word perfect means, then it says what? Sell all that you have and give to the poor, and you're going to have treasure in heaven, right? And then we got to see how he responded. How he responded, we're going to get some commentary on that too.
Verse 22, But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions.
Right, so he had the opportunity to basically come out on top and just follow the Lord, but he basically let that condemn him by saying that, you know, well, damn, I got too much stuff to let go of. You know what I mean? I can't see myself letting go of all the lands that and the scriptures talk about basically what profit has a man for all the labor that he does under the sun, because when you die, you give it up anyway, right? But he valued those possessions over basically following the Lord, right? So I want to get some of the commentary on there. We'll get the David Guzik. Is that guy? Okay, so it says under the part where it says he went away sorrowful and he had many possessions. It says, in this the wealthy questioner failed utterly. Money was his God. That's why Yahushua said you cannot serve the Most High and Mammon. Because
right here.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I mean, it's all through the Spirit. You know, if you want it.
Yeah, Yahushua, go ahead.
I'm going to start at verse 20 in Matthew 6. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 20. Verse 19, actually. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doeth corrupt, and where thieves break in through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doeth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
Right. Yeah, so that moth and that rust represents the withering away of the dainties of this world. You buy a new car, right? And 2 years from now, it's not as new as it was when you first bought it. Things depreciate over time.
Yeah.
Or shit, you just save millions of dollars in paper money.
Yeah.
Then it goes digital.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's vain, basically.
Yeah.
Like Solomon always said.
Right. But even
Vanity.
if you're able to transfer it into the digital, eventually you know where it's going.
Oh, yeah.
So the legacy that we're building up here, and that it's unseen, but we're storing up treasures in heaven. Whereas Jake is chasing the bag. The bag is going to lead him to that damn ditch, man.
Yeah.
That's
There's nothing wrong with having a bag,
Right.
you know, but you got to have the proper context,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. So that's what that that parable that Yahushua says is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom, because you gotta unload all those things off a camel's back before he's able to enter into that narrow path. You know what I mean? And camels were known to be relatively stubborn animals, so you know it's hard to get them to go into confined spaces, right? And so even if you was able to get them into that confined space, you got to take all those things that was on its back off, because they were used as, you know, load bearers, you know what I'm saying, to go to different cities and stuff.
It's labor.
You had to take that stuff off, and the camel had to go in just on his own. You know what I mean? And it said, Yahushua said, it's easier for a camel to do that than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom. But for a rich man to enter into the kingdom, he got to offload all that stuff that you can't care about it. You know what I mean? But all those things that could be valued over the truth, you gotta detach from that. There's more than that?
Yeah, it's leading to the point you brought up. This is back in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light.
Oh, bro, I gotta say it. It says, "Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also," bro. Like that scripture has really been like getting more clear now, because your heart is your mind. You know what I'm saying? Your la'ab, right? So where your treasure is, the thing that you your prized, possession, there where your mind, that's where you're gonna be thinking about all the time.
Exactly.
Right? So if your woman is your prized possession, for example, your car or your house or your job or whatever, that's gonna be the thing that you think about all the time, right? But really, it should be the kingdom, right? It should be the truth. So that's where you need to be focused on.
Right.
Yeah, that's why the scriptures say, kiss the son, lest he be angry.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into, especially in ancient times, the act of kissing something, that's showing that affection towards it. Via example, there's a scripture in Hosea that goes into how they actually kissed their idols. You know what I'm saying? So they was putting their mindset on things that really didn't matter versus what truly mattered. Just adding to that point.
Your affections, like you said in Colossians 3, set your affections on things above.
That's right.
Not
That's
below
right.
the kingdom. Where you put your priority. You're going to do certain things, but the priority has to be on your how about Shem Yahushua and serving the Lord first.
That's
Before
right.
anything. You got to be willing to give up all those things if it came down to it.
That's right. That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, because anything can become an idol, even if it's not necessarily unlawful. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It could be something ceremonially lawful, but if you put your heart to it, when I say ceremonially lawful, I mean, playing the game or driving your car, liking cars is not unlawful.
Eating
But if
wings or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But if you do too much of that, then it can become an idol because you're focusing on that versus focusing on the Lord.
Yep.
Yep. I think. Okay, Con. I was gonna say. I think it talks about how the staff that Moses had, or something that he made, ended up becoming an idol.
I know the ephod.
They started worshiping it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
There was a couple of things.
Yeah.
Throughout time. I think there was another
The brass
kind of
serpent
judges.
too. The brass serpent.
Brass
Yeah,
serpent.
the water. Yeah, so I meant to say the brass
Brass
serpent.
serpent.
Like they started, idolizing
Yep.
the items over the power that, you know what I'm saying,
That's
that those items were basically used to do the Lord's work. Like, but that shows you have to be spiritual in order to understand where the power is coming from. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? So, is that it on that?
It's going right into the verse that you quoted.
Okay.
This is the book of Matthew. I'm just jump straight to verse 24. Matthew 6:24. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon.
Right. See, you can't. That's like, even like on a level of like having, two women, or having two cars, or having two jobs. Like, you're gonna one's gonna be your favorite, and the other one's gonna be not as favorite. You know what I mean? Like that's just the
right.
case of the matter. Like, even if you have, let's just say for example, two women. There's a good example of that in 1 Samuel chapter 1, when Elkanah had Peninnah and he had Hannah, right? And it said he loved Hannah greatly, you know what I'm saying? But she was the one that was barren. Peninnah was the one that was, not as desired, but she was with the baby. Same thing with Rachel and Leah. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, even if you have two jobs, you got a main job, and then you got a side gig. You know what I mean? So it's many examples of that. But
Side one, but
Yeah.
more for you.
Yeah. So it's actually starting to come up, but
That side.
Fun with it.
You have more fun with that money from that side.
That's the fun money right there.
Yeah. So, but it says you cannot serve two masters, right? So of course the Lord, that's the ultimate example. You know what I mean? You can't serve the Most High and then claim that you can't. That's why we say things like, if people that call on Jesus and stuff, like there's certain things that people do that we know, okay, they don't believe in the Lord. You know what I mean? They don't believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushua because they follow this path. They worship this. That's contrary to the truth. So, You got precept? Okay, go ahead.
This is Colossians chapter 2, verse 6. It says, as ye have therefore received Hamashiach Yahushua the Lord, so walk ye in him, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. And the point on that is just being rooted and built up, having your foundation set up right according to Yahweh Yahushua, so that what things like this don't happen to where you get choked, or the word get choked out of you due to the cares and pleasures and riches of this life.
Yep. That's part of the how to detach. Is as having like you read it in that Matthew shar, keep your eyes single. You know what I'm saying? Focusing on a task at hand, and knowing no matter what, whether you on an airplane, overseas, on a boat, in the car, outside, at a restaurant, whatever, you always keeping the Lord in your mind. That's how you stay in that mode of being ready for whatever comes your way. You know what I mean? To the best of your ability. But the scriptures say that the Lord is not going to put us in a situation, roughly paraphrasing, that we're not going to be able to overcome. So
Like I said, it
yeah.
just boils down to having faith in that. That's why he says to the rich man, he's like, all right, you good carnally. Now let's see where you have faithful wise. That's the main thing that you got to keep at the forefront of faith. To say without faith it's impossible to please him. And that was Yahushua's biggest pet peeve, was when you wasn't showing faith.
Yeah. When I come, shall I find faith on the earth? So really, that was the last precept that I had.
I got one.
Okay, Con.
Yeah, this is 2 Timothy 4 and 10. This is Paul. As he was going on his mission, there was a particular individual who left him named Demas. It says, Demas has deserted me because he loves the things of this life and has gone to Thessalonica. All right, now I'm going to read a commentary on it. All right, he loved this present world. All right, it says, not the sins and corruptions of the world. It's not like Demas was like, I want to bow to idols and do all of this. It says, not the lust of the flesh, all right, but the lust of the eyes. It says, in the pride of life, such a love is inconsistent with the love of the Father in the grace of the Most High, in the grace of God. It says, nor in an immoderate love of worldly substance or of money, which is the root of all evil, but a love of life, or of a longer life in this present world. So that's what Demas, he forsook Paul because ultimately he wanted to win. He was like, shit.
That's a good one right there.
You know what I'm saying? He was like, he was desirous of living longer in this world and chose not to hazard his life by staying with the Apostle Paul, a prisoner at Rome, and therefore left him and provided for his own safety and security, and has departed on to Thessalonica. All right. So basically, he left Paul. He was like, man, shit, Paul a prisoner. I'm being persecuted. He was like, shit, I'm losing. I could be doing this, that. So he departed. He left Paul on the mission. He was like, man, I'm out, because he loved that present world. So again, to be a disciple of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, it takes that mindset that we read in Revelation 12. I'll get it real quick. Revelation 12 and Revelation 12 and 10. It says, I started 11. It says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. And that's a key aspect. And it's going to be a test for us all. Because really what it's going to boil down to when it's all said is done, once the persecution really hits, do you really love this life, or are you really like, F it? Because when the persecution comes, if you love this life, once you're on the news and people, co-workers or whoever start to see you, if you love this life, you're going to be like, F this, man. I ain't signed up for this. But if you're a true follower of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, one of the aspects is, man, fuck it. I don't give a damn about this life anyway. So whatever persecution comes with being a follower of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, you take it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Demas was like, hell no.
Yeah. Say love the present world. He's loving. He said,
And Paul wrote that in his letter, you know,
That's cold.
because he had that example, and you got to be mindful of that.
that's a cut, man. That's beautiful.
Because the whole time you doing this thing, and you preaching, you going out, like there could be something in you where really this present world has a grip on you in a way that you may hide from brothers, but when the going gets tough, it's gonna show. So don't be Demas.
Yeah, come.
Yeah, con.
This is Mark 8 and verse 36. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? And you gotta look at like an example of with Lot and his wife. You know, Lot he had some riches. He was wealthy because you remember him, Abraham, they had to split, part ways because, you know, they served and everything started bickering, it was growing. So he went one way, Abraham went the other way. So when he had to let all them things go, you know, he basically forsook and left. He didn't look back, but his wife, they had gained the whole world. They had gained some wealth. So she was missing it. She looked back and she was happened. She lost her soul.
That's right. That's right. And when you separate from those things, even though you lose carnally, which fuck this world at the end of the day, but you actually see the glory of the Lord reveal unto you more in different ways. Like he openly communicates with you in certain ways, you know. That's why I wanted to read earlier in James 4:8, draw unto the Most High, and he will draw unto you. Now, I got was you done with that? Because I do got an account just going into that. And this is in the book of Genesis, the 35th chapter, and I'm going to start from the top and read down. And it says, and the Most High said unto Jacob, arise, go up to Bethel, which is interpreted house of God, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto the Most High, and appear unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said into his house, behold, to all that were with him, put away the strange gods that are amongst you, and be clean and change your garments. So spiritually, we can look at this as a mindset. When we got converted into this knowledge, we put away those strange gods. And it's even as we have this knowledge here, there's times when you might slip up, not necessarily worship strange gods, you know, but have our mindsets toward things that don't really matter. You know what I'm saying? And not really realize it. And it says in verse 3, and let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto the Most High, who answered me in the day of thy distress, of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods that were in their hand, and all the earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Shechem. And they journeyed in terror of Salakia. And they journeyed, and the terror of the Most High was upon the cities that were round about them, and they did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. So when they actually were single-minded and focused on the Lord, they was winning over their enemies, bro. The Lord was with them, and you can continue to read about what happened later on. You know, so we actually have our mindset towards things that are spiritual and put away the things that don't matter. You see the light of the Lord shine upon you. Mm-hmm. As we quoted it earlier, let thine eye be single. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's a mindset that we all can work on and get stronger in, you know, but we clearly see the Lord with us and working with us, you know.
Yeah, there's power in detaching from the things that make you weak spiritually. You know what I mean?
That's why fasting is so important.
Yeah.
That's right.
God. Yeah, so that was beautiful, man. If y'all doesn't have any other presets, I think the point was made with that. So Lord willing, there was edifying with that. We're going to give all praise, honor, and glory to
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash.
Love on City Apostles, and that was a great millstone. Peace inside Texas City elect. Shalom.
Shalom.